Our next presentation is Joey Arora from the U.S. Air Force. And before Joey comes on stage, I just want to say we were riding in our Lyft the other day to one of our meetings, and we were talking about what an ideal customer looked like. And Joey's name came up. Then this is what Joey looks like when he's dressed as Aladdin. But one of the things that we said that Joey was an ideal customer is because he is very willing to take risks, especially, as you said, in an organization as large as the Air Force with ideas as big as the Air Force is. It's kind of a vulnerable position to be asking for that many ideas. And you are totally one of those people who is stewarding really innovative thinking across the entire organization. So we're really excited to hear about Spark Tank, and take it away.
Good afternoon, everybody. How are you doing? Good. I like to dress up for Halloween. It's my favorite holiday. This year, I'll probably be a Power Ranger or a pirate. My birthday's on International Talk Like a Pirate Day. And so here we are. Thanks for the awesome picture you found. So wanted to take this time to tell you guys a little bit about how the Air Force is working to use crowdsourcing, to use Airmen ideas to make the Air Force a better place. And I want to highlight our login page here just really quickly, because what we did is we want to start messaging from the top. And we want to be very clear with what we're doing. And we're enabling Airmen to drive change from ideation to fruition in 90 days. Just very succinctly, very simply, we want our Airmen who come in to have an idea to make it a reality in some way, shape, or form, whether that's just a startup project execution or changing a policy within 90 days. And that's something that we firmly believe in as we come in. And for anybody that's on the government side, if you need two-factor authentication or CAC login, you can do it. I believe in you. It takes time, but one of the key lessons we learned is that we thought airmen wanted to log in, or people in the government wanted to log in with their a phone and a code. Absolutely not the case. So one of the first things we learned in the first 30 days was over 90% of our first 500 users were like, where can I log in with my CAC card? And for those of you that don't know what a CAC card is, it's just a plastic card that you use to log in. It's a code. So one of the key things we did was take customer feedback when we started using the platform and immediately implemented those changes, because that's how we were able to generate engagement for the platform. And the key thing we stressed when building out a place for airmen to submit ideas is that the AFWERX model is centered around that airman entrepreneur. Who is that entrepreneur inside of your company and your organization that's going to execute on it? We can't just take an idea and expect someone else to make it happen. That model was what we were doing in the Air Force, and it was not very effective because none of those ideas, 1% to 2% of those ideas were maybe heard at the top levels, and then 1% to 2% of those ideas were the ones actually implemented. So that was not working for our airmen. So what we do is we connect them to contracting and legal. So they have those experts on every base around the United States. There's 272 around the world, by the way. So we have a lot of different places that these airmen can go and see things and learn things. And then we want to connect them to engaged leadership, someone that's going to say, yes, go out and execute this. We believe in protecting your time for you to try something new. We want to connect them to resource advocates. So one of the things we won't talk too much about today, but we revamped the entire SBIR process, the small business funding process for the Air Force. And now, over the last 2 years, we've funded over 1,000 companies with $240 million and put them on contract in less than 30 days. And we do that with problem statements from airmen because they're submitting this on the platform, and we're able to connect their problem statements to those companies. And so that's been one of the really cool parts is we've also created as part of our innovation program a resourcing pathway. And all DoD federal agencies, you have this as part of your entity, right? SBIR exists for you, so see if you can leverage that. We can talk about it later. And then the last part there is a commercial partner, right? So bringing in that commercial company to help us solve problems. Because we recognize in the DoD that our stuff is from the 80s and the 60s, and we don't know what mobile is. And so we needed to change that conversation and let our airmen who do this stuff every day make that happen. The other key thing we wanted to educate the workforce on and educate our leadership on are the 3 horizons of innovation. So horizon 1 is sort of that gradual, simple change. Let me improve on the process. Let me make something a little bit better. And that is, let's say I decided that when I was walking in today, instead of putting my name tag and registration all the way on that side, I put it over here on this side. That makes a lot of simple sense, right? It's that simple process upgrade. The Horizon 2 is sort of your generational upgrade. Hey, things are changing. It's an upgrade and improvement in processor speed. We go from generation 7 to generation 8 on your iPhone. And then your Horizon 3 is your brand new innovation. It's completely disrupting the market. So think about this as when the iPhone first came out. That was a Horizon 3 innovation. It was completely game-changing and disruptive. When the iPhone XS, 11, 12, 14 XP Pro came out, whatever that name is, right, that was just a generational upgrade. That was just a slight change in what the capabilities were. And so you want to educate your force that majority of the ideas are going to be in Horizon 1. And that's okay, because people are going to ask what sucks on a day-to-day basis, and you want to be able to solve those problems. Because if they can solve what sucks, then they're going to be able to think about, what do I actually need to structurally change in my organization? So if you're able to facilitate solving for what sucks, you'll be able to facilitate the larger game-changing ideas. And in order to facilitate what sucks, I want to just quickly highlight, hey, this is our user growth. We started off really small, and we're doing quite well. And answering on the question of what sucks, you'll see these 2 periods of growth here from October to about February, and we're repeating that here again this year. That's because we went around the Air Force asking people what sucks in the Air Force's version of Shark Tank, which you're going to see called Spark Tank. And what we did is we got airmen in front of the Secretary of the Air Force and the Chief of Staff, and I'll talk about that here in a moment in my presentation. So I want to give you some metrics, so we're not just talking and that we did something, but here's the numbers to back it up. The cool thing that is happening right now is we have over 5,000 airmen that are active on the platform each month. And what that's allowing us to do is not only have idea submission, but facilitated engagement about, are they commenting, are they voting? We're working with the IdeaScale team to improve pairwise so that we have better engagement there. They're going to talk about a cool new thing about linking. That's a potential new opportunity for engagement as well. But the other key piece of this is those 3,000 plus ideas have turned into 400 real projects. And one of the things we're struggling with is, how do we track all of those projects? Now that we're running a distributed model, we've had over 30 campaigns. What is happening with those projects that are occurring? Are they failing? Are they being successful? So we asked ourselves, what are we measuring? And one of the things we're trying to track is, what are the stories that we have? Because we might not be able to follow on each of those projects. We have our distributed model of airmen entrepreneurs across the Air Force, but we can track stories, and we have 50 of them collected, but how are we posting them on the platform? So far we have 1. We did 1, so it's a good start. I know we have 50 other stories, and as we were talking about our discussion on metrics, I wanted to put up here, this is what the Air Force cares about when we're looking at it. And one of the key things is, how many experiments are we running, right? We can have a lot of ideas submitted, but which of those actually turn into some sort of action where we can get from that ideation to fruition in 90 days? That's really important for us to see. And the other thing I want to highlight is what resources are available. Because we're learning what types of ideas people are submitting, we're also able to create types of resources to enable them to do a better job solving a problem or understanding even how to use the platform because of that. So I told you about Spark Tank, right? Enabling airmen from the grassroots level to answer what sucks. So this is the Spark Tank campaign for 2020. You'll see right now we have 188 ideas and over almost 4,000 votes. Pretty sure it's at 4,000 today. So the cool thing about this is anyone can go up and pitch their idea to the Secretary of the Air Force, to the 4-star in charge of the Air Force, and to the highest enlisted member. And you guys might recognize we brought in some celebrity judges as well, because we wanted to bring in people like Mark Cuban so they can give our airmen honest feedback. And if you look up Spark Tank for 2019, there's actually a little fun spat between Mark Cuban and an airman. And the airman's like, hey, you don't understand the Air Force. And a bunch of folks cheered about it. But the truth was, if you took a step back and analyze that conversation, what Mark was really asking is, hey, Airmen, have you understood that your idea is going to have a cost to it? And if you don't get buy-in from the existing organization and the bureaucracy that's already working on this, you're going to get shut down. So where are your numbers? And that is not something that the Air Force generally talks about. And as part of this facilitation process for us is bringing in those outside perspectives and teaching people a little bit about venture, a little bit about business as part of this. So doing Spark Tank is about giving people a voice at the top levels and at the same time educating them and changing the narrative around what the conversation is for the Air Force. We have to know what things are going to cost. We have to take that into account day one so airmen feel responsible for the projects they're owning and executing. Let's talk about resourcing. We create silly videos or like meaningful videos about like how you can get your idea started. So if we were to watch this one, we put them all on YouTube. The key message here is that this is a captain in the Air Force, and he said, we started Kessel Run because we wanted to. We recognized we needed to. And they didn't take no for an answer. They just started executing. They started doing things. And that airmen today can do this because we hear the stories of Billy Mitchell. We hear the stories of the people that helped build the first ICBM. And it took courage. It took a lot of guts to just say, we're going to go out and do this. And we're at a time when we're facing our peer competitors in China and Russia that we have to enable our airmen and tell them, you need to make change happen. You can't wait for big Air Force or the big government to make that because it'll be too late. It's not about who has the coolest technology. It's about who can integrate that the fastest with their day-to-day operations. And so how do we enable this message down for our airmen? Well, we're giving them an avenue through the platform to start on their projects. We have facilitated coaches at 48 bases around the United States, trying to educate them on this. We are transforming our continuous process improvement program so they can be pitch coaches for these ideas that are happening as well. And on the ideation side, we're standing up, and we have a team of 5 people now who are helping stand-up campaigns, teach people how to answer them and respond. So we're doing cool things like that. We also do our own videos for how do you use IdeaScale. When we started this, you see my face in a lot of these videos just because we were really scrappy. This is all recorded on my cell phone and uploaded to YouTube. That's all you need to do, right? You can. I was talking to these guys. They have these really cool NASA buttons right here. And if I saw that NASA button, I'd be like, hey, what is that? How's it going? And just creating a simple story about that, or you'll see a hashtag later about hashtag InnovativeAF for Innovative Air Force. But tell the story behind that. And put it up online. Put it up on your front page, and people will click on it. And then people will ask you why your face is on the page a lot, too. But in doing this, I know this is very hard to read, and that's kind of the point. But the subject of the email that I got was re-IdeaScale - bad trend. Because when we started working on the platform, we had such a small team engaged with that, and nobody knew how to help people with ideation. No one knew how to respond to an idea, because it was always passed on to somebody else, and it was always their responsibility or their job. So we got the critics come in and saying, I submitted 10, 15, 25 ideas, but nothing's happening. No one's even responded to my idea. It got moved to a parking lot stage, and no one told me why. And we recognized that this distributed model of running campaigns, if we didn't teach people how to run those campaigns better, we weren't going to get good engagement. So we had to teach the people that were running their own challenges and campaigns how to respond, how to engage, set a minimum standard of expectations of what they were doing on the platform so that people got responses. It doesn't matter if it was the dress and appearance campaign, which is one of the #1 things airmen have ideas about, or how we can change our uniform today. But we need to teach those people how to respond to those so that voices don't just go unheard. And we need to allow people to start up and try their own campaigns because it gives them a sense of empowerment in doing that. So some of the key things that came from, and what we still hear from our airmen is, hey, I don't know what to do next with my idea. Hey, no one responded to my idea on the campaign. And so what we've done is we demonstrated this earlier this year with the Edwards campaign, and I'll show you that. We stood up a team of 5 who are going to help provide managed campaigns for anyone that wants to stand it up. And the team that is going to want to run a campaign no longer has to do the management of the campaign in terms of so let me set it up, let me create a picture, we'll take care of those pieces. The owner of the campaign at one of the various bases around the Air Force, they're responsible for tracking where those ideas are at, where they're going to go next, and following up to make sure that every idea is commented on or engaged on in some way. So how do we do that at Edwards Air Force Base? Well, we got really creative. And I want to give a shout out to Greg Hicks and their team for the work that they did on facilitating this engagement. They took a theme for that base. We have our base mayor is what a wing commander is, like it's a mayor of a city. And he's called General Tykert. His call sign is Dragon. It's at Edwards Air Force Base. So they came up with a theme called Eddie the Dragon. And they made it very fun, right? If you read that, that's not the traditional language that if you take a look on this page, this is all just gobbledygook of like traditional, hey, this is we want you to make the Air Force better, or submit things to do that. And it was okay to get started because we got people engaged in the platform. But if you want to drive deep engagement, if you want to drive deep value for people, things being sticky, you need to talk like this. Like our airmen, like we all talk about in real life, right? We talk in fun, simple, quick ideas. And that's how we want to spread that level of engagement in the platform as well. So you'll see that it was a very simple set of engagement up top. We explained the process very simply. Traditionally in the Air Force, you need like a 20-page document to explain everything that's going on. Here, it's all laid out in one page. This is what it's going to happen. This is the times, and it's very easy to read. That was one of the other key things that we did on the platform is make it very easy to read, very simple to see, and people can understand where it goes by next step in the process. Also the stages, extremely simple, right? We just had people submit information, see all of the ideas. We were trying to leverage pairwise to do the voting so that we could drive more sense of engagement and the crowd could feel involved in the process. And then there was the down select of which ideas were going to happen or not. So you'll see that we actually moved 81 ideas into selected and 80 into non-selected. Those are real things that are happening at Edwards Air Force Base. And out of those 81, we're struggling with implementation for some of them. Some have moved on into implementation. We're facilitating them putting that into the platform. But that ideation, all of that, they got huge levels of engagement. This campaign far outpaced any other campaign that we've done in the Air Force. It got 10 times the amount of engagement that the entire Air Force-wide campaign with Mark Cuban got. Because it was focused on how do we market? How do we communicate a little bit differently? And when they were communicating this, they looked at what were people doing on a day-to-day basis. Facebook videos. They're all going to the chow halls. So let's communicate with them where they're at. And so that's why these 81 that were selected were from Horizon 1 to Horizon 3. Whether it was simple things that are happening at their dorm or in their maintenance unit, and it was just about changing a tool or changing a process, to how do you completely test things in a new way at Edwards Air Force Base. How do they bring in new testing vehicles? How do they do space operations? Those are all types of things that the ideas are allowed to flow when you don't block anything. And so it was one of the cool things that we saw. So just wanted to show here that had 464 comments, 161 ideas, and 3,000 votes. And this is sort of what the overall campaign looked like, right? Try to make it as simple and clean as possible on the platform for people to engage and get involved. One of the other cool things that we did is, as part of the efforts at Edwards Air Force Base, we also did a culture campaign, because we recognized that in order for us to succeed, we need to call out the culture as it is and work towards changing that. So we brought a team on, a company called Gaping Void, to do an engagement on base about what are the major fears, what are the major undercurrents of how people think. And we brought that to the forefront of how these people working. Right? People are afraid about the abominable no man. Right? people say no a lot. Right? The solve for yes, the get to yes conversation we just had in the last presentation is really important. Right? How do we facilitate that culture across all levels of our organization is something that we tried. And we tied that to the ideation campaign because we recognized that in order for our airmen to feel comfortable and that their ideas were going to go somewhere, we needed buy-in on that process from people in every level of the base. So I wanted to highlight some of these cool pictures. So what changed from that email to the end of this and campaigns that we're running today? Well, we realigned resources. We went from saying, hey, airmen, you're going to submit your idea to a big Air Force, to now having a team of folks that say, hey, let's teach you how to make this idea a project. Let's teach you how to pitch this idea. Let's guide you in being an entrepreneur for the Air Force. We facilitated campaigns. That's what we're doing now. No one's going to run and like sort of set up their own campaigns. We'll take care of all of that for them. This is a big change. If you were at the conference last year, we were like, yeah, we're going to let anybody run a campaign. It'll be great. And it was, but it was okay, not great. People were doing some things and there were like 20 ideas in a campaign. Like, cool, we can do better. We can drive more engagement. And so let's take care of the platform pieces and let's let them focus on the things that they know, and that's their airmen. And then we are focusing now on storytelling, right? So we've collected those other 50 stories, and we have a place on the platform. We asked, and we're working with the IdeaScale team to take HTML control of a couple of pages and post those stories on IdeaScale. So all of this information is centralized. Just wanted to highlight that as we're building the Air Force, this is a movement. At the end of the day, every airman that joins in, every idea that's submitted, it's another step towards building the Air Force. This isn't the Air Force that we joined, it's the Air Force that we build. And it's about getting another airman involved in that process every day. So want to work with you guys and getting stuff done. So, if you guys have any questions, happy to answer about what we do and how we're doing it in the Air Force. Yeah, so the question was, what is the difference for our storytelling on the platform versus story selling about what is in the future, what could be possible? So the things we are putting on the platform level right now are the successes and failure stories of like what's happening around the Air Force. The story selling piece is when I talk about those CPI folks, consultants at each base around the Air Force, we want to teach them how to be the story sellers. They should be talking about what is in the art of possible, what is in the future, because that's when they're building up their idea, they should be story selling. And then when we do it on the platform, we're saying, hey, let's look back at what did happen for us. Yeah. Any other questions about things we're doing or cool, funny pictures or hashtags? Yes. So the question is, do we do anything for our individual airmen or our employees on how we prepare them to engage and work with an idea for the Air Force? One of the key things that we do is foster an environment for them to start sharing ideas. We have spark cells around the Air Force, which are sort of that base level unit of saying, hey, there's a group of folks that want to change something, start something, do something. And we, at AFWorks, we host events across the country regarding how you can work with innovation, what you're doing, and how you're doing it. Yeah. Yep.
So you mentioned the facilitated like campaign team. So is that something that's being managed at like an air base level, or is that like some sort of Air Force-wide facilitating team that's working to facilitate those campaigns?
Yeah. So question is, are we managing these campaigns at a base level or at an enterprise level? And the answer is we're managing them at an enterprise level. We contracted out a team to do that level of engagement. We recognize that the people inside of the Air Force aren't going to have the skill sets to manage crowdsourcing really, really well. And we wanted to bring in outside experts to do that. When we started off with this program, we were able to do it ourselves. But we recognized that the Air Force is too big for us to do this at scale. And so when we got to about 10, 15,000 users on the platform, we needed to continue providing that level of service and be able to go deeper into the campaigns if we really wanted it to be successful. Yeah.
So Eddie the Dragon, very cool. Have you done anything else like that? And is there a point where you've gone too adorable and drive people away?
So the question is, have we done any other campaigns like Eddie the Dragon, and have we gone too adorable to drive people away? I would say that some people at Edwards Air Force Base, yes, were turned off by, like, why are we playing with a silly cartoon drawn dragon? But at the end of the day, you're driving and seeding ideas across that community. Right? You're changing the way that they think because this is at the forefront of the things that they're seeing. It's the idea that they're repeating on a consistent basis. And so that was the driving mantra for we want to change their beliefs in an organization, so we need to seed the ideas across that community. Have we done other campaigns like that yet? No, but we have 10 other in the works over the next year with Global Strike Command. All right, I believe I will finish 5 minutes early. Keep giving you on time for today. So thank you guys very much for your time. Really appreciate it.